So for those of you who want to interact with this presentation today, if you, like I said, download the Nearpod app onto your cell phone, it should only take a few minutes to do that, or a few seconds to do that even. There's a code on the screen that you're seeing right now. When you download the app and open it, it'll ask if you want to join a session. So if you just put in these 5 letters, NEVFT, once you do that, it'll just ask you for your name. You could put in a name or anything you want. You can have fun with it, anything you want to do to identify yourself. And then you will be connected immediately to the presentation today. And it'll be virtually enhanced, and we'll talk a lot about that today and why and all that, but it'll be fun. And we're gonna have a little fun today too while you learn, so this should be good. I'm really excited about it. I'm just gonna kind of peek here.
Frank, would you like me to monitor the chat for you?
That would be great, actually.
Okay. I'll do that, and then I'll just interrupt you if needed.
Yeah, I'm gonna probably start at 12:15, but once we get started, like I'm gonna try to. There's a lot of information to go over with Nearpod, so I'm probably gonna design this. I'll talk about this, but I'll probably do the presentation. I have this kind of structured in a certain way. I'm gonna kind of demo it for everybody first, have a little fun with that, and then kind of show how it works on the back end from an instructor standpoint, and then kind of open it up for Q&A near the end too. So I'll kind of guide that a little bit as we go. There could be questions in the chat, but I'm hoping that people can save some of the questions for the end. And I normally don't do that as a presenter, but for today it might be helpful.
Okay, I'll make sure that the ones that that I bring up are ones that are really pertinent.
Okay, great. Thank you. So we got about 3 minutes or so before 12:15. So if anyone just joined the, I'm gonna stop sharing, I think, for a second. So NEVFT, I think that's in the notes too in the chat for those who are already on, but I'll just be watching for new people that jump in just in case. I'm excited. And I have until, I don't expect we'll go this long per se, but that technically goes to 1:30, is that correct? Time frame for the session?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, 1:30.
Thank you.
Sorry, I had to find my microphone.
Thank you. Oh, yeah, that's cool. That's good to know about the video thing on the notes, Alan. Thank you. Did not know that. I just jumped in a few minutes early just to kind of test, make sure everything's working the way I'm thinking it will here. All right. Oh, yay, good. Got some more people coming in. This is great. For those that just jumped into the call, the Zoom a few seconds ago, we had several people that just jumped in. Today's presentation is going to be interactive. And so if you happen to have, it depends on how you're connecting, but if you happen to have a cell phone handy, if you're using your phone to connect into this presentation, it may be a little different. So if somebody has that, let me know. But if you're most people are probably connecting from a computer. If you happen to have a cell phone and are able to download the Nearpod app to your phone, it only takes a few seconds to do that. It's Nearpod. Nearpod, and that will actually allow you to be able to interact with the presentation today beyond just a simple Zoom. And we're going to talk a lot about that and how that works, and you'll have some fun with it too. So it'll be really neat today if you're able to do that. If you can't do that, that's okay too. You can watch it as a simple Zoom, but it is a lot of fun to interact with the presentation. So again, Nearpod app on your phone. And then when you download that, it's going to ask if you want to join a session. The code for today's session to join it is NEVFT. FT. It's 5 letters. And so once you do that, it'll just ask you for your name or any identifier. And then once you do that, you're in. So I'm going to post some detailed instructions here in just a second. I know a couple more people are jumping into the call as I'm talking. So,
hey Frank, I actually have it set up on my laptop. Can I just interact? Like, can I use my laptop to interact with today's presentation instead of downloading it on my phone?
Yeah, you could if you're using your laptop also for this Zoom call. Then well, basically you can kind of, I would say, still stay on there for the audio piece of it, but you'll be able to still, you could use a computer to connect to, but that's fine.
Okay. Because I just downloaded Nearpod onto my computer.
Oh, okay, yeah. Oh, yeah. That's one way. Another way is you could go to nearpod.com and then the code there too. That's another way you could connect. It's a great question. It's 12:15, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to post some details in the chat here. Again, thank you all for coming. This is a great turnout. I'm really excited about this. I think this will be a great session for both faculty and staff, and I have it designed a certain way. It's a little bit different than the presentations I normally deliver, but it's very interactive. And so one way that you all can interact with this presentation is that if you happen to have a smartphone with you, and it's able to, or a device that can download any sort of app. The app to download would be the Nearpod app, Nearpod, and I put the details of this in the chat. When you download the app, it's just going to ask if you wanted to join a session for today. I'm going to go ahead and screen share this so you can kind of see what it will look like. When you download the app and join the session code for today is NEVFT. And when you enter that, it'll just ask you for your name. And then you can also, at that point, you're into the presentation. I'm going to collapse this for a second, and you'll be able to see the PowerPoint start here. But the code is in the upper left-hand corner of the screen as well. So if you forgot it, it's up here on the screen, and it's in the chat as well. So for today, what I wanted to do is share with all of you a tool that I think will be really useful for faculty and staff. And I really designed this with faculty kind of in mind as well in this time of a pandemic where we're thinking of creative ways to connect with our students in the classroom. So this will be really interesting for those of you who want new ways to do that. What I want to do for today's session, just to give you a guideline of how I want it to kind of go or flow, is I would like to first give you a little bit of welcome and background about Nearpod, how I found out about it, like how I've used it in the past. And I want to then give you all a demonstration of what Nearpod can do for students, which I'm super excited about. And then I want to kind of take a step back. So that demonstration will probably last about 15, 20 minutes. And then I want to spend a little bit of time going over how it works on the back end from an instructor standpoint. Because it's cool to see what it can do, but it's also important for this session to understand how it works, how you would use it as an administrator to in your class, or how that could work. And then I also want to open it up at the end for Q&A. So normally I kind of take questions at any time during a session, but for this session, I have a lot of really helpful information for you. And I want to give you all that information and then kind of take questions, because I think that'll really help. There's a lot of really clever ways you can use this in a classroom. So as I demonstrate this, I'm going to also demonstrate how you could use some of these features in the classroom as well. So it's very practical. So first, just to give you a little bit of that welcome and background about Nearpod, I actually began using Nearpod probably about 5 or 6 years ago at least now, when I was in the College of Business. The software is developed by a company, Nearpod, and they have come a long way in that time frame. When I first used this, I was an advisor in the College of Business, and we tried to use it for orientation. I'll be honest, I was trying to remember exactly how I found out about it. I think I found out about it from a K-12 professional. Many teachers use this in the K-12 system as well with their students, even at the elementary level now, for smart classrooms and things like that. But for the way we wanted to use Nearpod in the College of Business was at orientation, there was some data that we wanted to get from our freshmen that we were not getting from SAP or from our system. Specifically, we wanted to know things like how many hours are they working per week, which you don't know until you talk with them. We wanted to know like how many hours were they commuting away from campus. And so we used Nearpod over a couple, like 2 or 3 summers with orientation. And what we did was we had students connect with us on using the iPad cart that exists on campus already. So we had Nearpod on the iPads, and they were able to connect in and follow along with our presentations from Nearpod. And so for those of you today who have, so the first thing to tell you, for those of you today who have downloaded the Nearpod app and put the code NEVFT in there and put your name and connected to the session today, as I go through the slides, if you notice your phone, you'll be going through the slides with me. So one of the cool features about Nearpod is this actually works with cell phones. It works with Kindles, iPads, other devices that can download an app. So it can take, what you can do with it essentially is you can take a PowerPoint presentation and put it into the Nearpod website and enhance it with interactive features that allows students to use this on alternate devices. So for example, if you think of a student who may want to connect to your class from just their cell phone, they could do that. And one neat thing is, even if they have a, let's say you set up a Zoom, it works with Zoom as well. And if a student was calling into a Zoom phone number on their cell phone and they use Nearpod for the presentation piece, you can actually hear, talk, and see the presentation all through just your cell phone. So that's a big game changer, I think, when we think about students and where are they learning from. They could literally learn from anywhere using this software. So I want to give you a kind of a demonstration of what Nearpod can do. Hopefully everyone's connected into the session. We're going to find out here in a minute. But basically I can see, yes, I can see a lot of you in here. So all of you that have joined in, this is great. So one feature of Nearpod is you can actually use it to take questions. And as the administrator, you're seeing kind of my end of it on the Zoom screen. But for all of you on your phone, it probably has a question on there. What word would you choose or a phrase to describe about how returning to NKU has been this fall? What would it be? So all of you may have different answers on this, or some of you, this has been a chaotic semester. Some of you has been, you're excited just to be back. So I'd love to hear from you. So if on your phone, if you're interacting with the presentation today, go ahead and put your answer in and then hit the submit button. And we'll see some of your answers live pop up on the screen as you respond. Lynn, you wrote chaotic. So challenging yet uplifting. I like that, Tracy. Lauren said pivot, pivot, pivot. Lenida, frustrating. Yeah, it's been frustrating at times. Surreal. I feel like that, Britta, with campus when I walk through and see nobody around sometimes. Strange, busy, hasn't happened. Happy to be here. Yeah, so stressful. I love this. So, so one thing with this, obviously, is you can kind of see that this is a great way to also get feedback from people, you know, using Nearpod. So one feature in this is that you can use this to ask questions of you know, your audience. So if you think of an instructor in a classroom, you could ask questions and get responses through Nearpod. And that's just the tip of the iceberg of what it can do. So thank you for those that have shared. I'm going to show another feature here. So one of the other features in Nearpod is something called Draw It. And I'm sorry if this is not blowing up really big here, but circle, you can use your finger as a pen on this feature. And so circle the building that you work in on campus. And then if you circle that, there's a little map that probably will show up there, and do your best. I know this isn't perfect to scale, but if you circle it and then again hit submit, we can kind of see where some of the people that are on this call are you know, work from on campus. So you can also do different features where you draw different, you know, different things. So this is one way you could use it. I think about this, when I was thinking about this from a faculty standpoint, think like a geography professor, right? They could post a map of the world or some picture or image, and then you can actually upload images into Nearpod, and then you can create these drawing features in it. Or it could be a blank thing where you have somebody draw something freehand, or so you can use it to also do that kind of thing as well if you want to have people do something. And this is more of a fun activity. There's lots of, and I'm actually only showing you a handful of activities that Nearpod has embedded within it in its structure. And I'll explain in a little bit how all this works. But this is great. So I'm seeing some of the different responses here where everybody is. So again, don't forget to hit submit to submit your response. This is great. So you can see we're all kind of spread out here. I got some different colors here, red and black on the pen type there, but basically, you know, we're all working in different places all across campus. So again, this is just to kind of demonstrate, again, another feature that it can do. So I'm kind of showing you a lot of the little features with this demo, and then we'll kind of talk back on the back end of how all this works. Thank you. I'm gonna keep going here. One thing we did this summer, we actually used Nearpod this summer with our orientation with our new incoming freshman students. And one thing that we did that was kind of fun was kind of a twist on the draw it feature that you just did. So this is a picture, obviously, of Victor E. Viking, our mascot. We talked to the students just as an icebreaker to open things up in the beginning of our session. I said, hey, take a good look at Victor, because what I'm going to ask you to do next is you're going to have 3 minutes to give us your best impression of Victor E. Viking. So you're going to get to draw him using the draw it again. So in 3, 2, 1, go ahead, and you got 3 minutes. So go ahead and give me your best Victor drawing impression here. So don't forget your mustache and beard. So our students had a lot of fun with this over the summer. So get to see some of your artwork today. And then again, as you all are filling this in and responding, you'll see some of your images show up here on the screen. Lynn, I'm loving the horns there. Ashley, I love the full body Victor. This is great. I appreciate all of you all hearing me and doing all the drawings here. This is kind of fun. Hi. Victor E. Viking, whoever named themselves Victor E. Viking, you're drawing yourself. This is great. Thought that was awesome. Little mustaches, I love it. Little yellow mustache. Got about a minute and a half left. Some of you, I can tell, are doing some real serious artwork right now. So again, this might be kind of interesting. I mean, for, this might be maybe not something people might do, an instructor might use in the classroom, but again, it's just another kind of feature that Nearpod can do. So again, maybe it's an icebreaker, something to have fun with. So maybe it's even something that you do briefly to break up, a few minutes in class. If it's a long 3-hour class and you want to do something for a couple minutes, this could be something you can embed into a classroom experience, just to break the ice for a few minutes, or do something just to kind of transition. Jennifer, I love the detail. Jennifer Toyo, awesome detail in your Victor there. This is great. So I appreciate all of you all giving your responses here. Got about 45 seconds here. So finish any last little touches to your artwork, and don't forget to hit submit, and we'll see the final results here. If some of you are thinking, hey, I'm not an excellent drawer, I did not draw this very well. Your artwork is better than mine, and you all are doing great. The students didn't have all this much detail. Wow, I love, some of these are awesome. These are great. And I'm going to talk about how this works later, but anything that's done in Nearpod, it actually does also save this data. So you can actually get a report that's automatically generated by Nearpod that you can share all this stuff back out to people if you want to afterwards. So I'll show you a little bit about that in a little bit. This is great. So thank you all for your great submissions on this. It's awesome. That was kind of fun. So another feature that it can do, and this is one that I really, really like a lot. It's maybe my favorite feature of it. This is called a collaborate board. And you can kind of see on my screen, if you look at the Zoom for a minute, you can actually approve student comments before they're posted on this. So you can control what content, and even on some of the other things that you saw, you can if if something was something you felt like it needed to be deleted or something, you can control what is being responded on. But basically, one of the features, the Collaborate board, is really great for things like case studies. And I've used Nearpod on several different presentations, even around diversity and other issues. And one of the presentations that we did a case study on diversity, where we had people in groups, and then they could share their not only thoughts with this, but you can share also images. So like for instance, if I wanted to post about Harry Potter, I could put Harry Potter in here, and there's even a little, on your phone, you'll see this too, there's a little Google icon where you can actually even search images with Google through the Collaborate board. And you can post pictures, you can post GIFs, or I don't know if I pronounced that correctly. And so you can even do that. And when you post things to the Collaborate board, you can even like each other's responses. And so this is really neat. One of the things that, the question that I set up for you all today was, what's your favorite thing about NKU? So if you wanted to give your response to that, or an image, or share an image, that'd be great. Lynn, this is awesome. So Lynn, that's great. So, so you can kind of do this in a lot of ways. I actually have a really good tip for an instructor standpoint here. I had a conversation, this is great. I had a class question that kind of came up, like, so right now, if you think about the pandemic and the classroom space that we're in, and social distancing in the classroom, one instructor question that came up is, well, if I'm in the classroom and the students are all spread apart, how do I put them in groups physically? I can't do that because of social distancing. This is a way maybe around that. So if you use the Collaborate board, one thing that you could do is you could still verbally put students into small groups in the classroom verbally. And then you could use this, and then when it was time for that group to report, they could report their thoughts or their images about that case or about that issue or about that thing. And then their things would be the only things popping up on this Collaborate board. So as the instructor, if you're using Zoom or you're using even just your computer and the projector in the class to project this screen like I'm doing as the administrator, and you could use the Collaborate board to still do group work in the classroom, even though people are socially distancing. It also could work where if somebody's connecting on, let's say someone's in the classroom physically and someone was at home on their phone, they could still do the same thing. They could still submit to this Collaborate board, from wherever they're at. So I think there's some really neat ways you could use the Collaborate board feature. So this one I really, really like a lot. And people love seeing their responses show up on the screen. You can like each other's responses on the board. So I think people like the idea that they can, see each other's stuff and they can share and collaborate in that way. And then what I've learned is on the Collaborate board, I love some of these photos and things you all are sharing. The thing about the Collaborate board is when you go back to get your report at the end, this is something where you might need to print screen it and then share the print screen image, but you can do that to still share this out too. So if you did a Collaborate board and students in the class wanted to get the feedback from the Collaborate board, you still can print screen this and save it. This is saved in Nearpod in the website as well for your presentations that you create. But this image is not going to show up in the report. The Collaborate board will have a separate link, and I'll show you this in a little bit. But this is something where you may need to kind of separately on the side kind of print screen and share it out that way. What I did this summer when we had orientation was I actually would print screen this and put it into an email, and then I would send it back out to Britta or to the advisors, and they could see the feedback from that session from the students from that day. And I asked them like what they were excited about, for NKU. And so it was great to see all the student responses of what they were excited about coming in as a new student this fall. So that was really fun to see. So thanks for playing along with that. And then the last thing I wanted to demonstrate, and this is kind of cool too, Nearpod also works with YouTube. So if you want to play videos using Nearpod, you can do that. It gives you a choice. If you look at the Zoom screen for a moment, it gives you a choice of whether you want the video to play only on the administrator's device. So as the administrator, I could be the only one sharing this video, or if you want it to show up on all devices. So if I choose all devices, all of you will get this same video on your individually, where you could play at home individually on your own time on your phone. For today, you don't need to play this video. I just wanted you to see that this can do this. What the video that you're seeing, just to give you some context, I did a small Nearpod for our African-American students that were coming in through the Students to Scholars program when we did our orientation. And I had 5 tips. It's focused on students in their sophomore year. So I had 5 tips for sophomores coming in, and we had a video that they could see using Nearpod as a means. So again, depending on whatever device they were on, they could view this from home, or at their own pace if they wanted to. So I just wanted you to see that this can support videos as well. So you can embed YouTube videos and things into this, into the structure. So it works also with that type of media. So given all this, the one last thing I wanted to share with you is a little thing. It can also do quizzes. So you can do a class quiz or something, and you might not want to do that if you're grading something serious, but if you wanted to, it can do polls and things like that as well. So I'm just curious, how would you think you would like to use Nearpod, seeing some of the things that it can do now? How might you want to use this? And so I'd love to get your feedback on what you think. I had to choose a correct answer for this, but there's really no incorrect answer on this one. For purposes of this, I made the correct answer, all of the above on this one. But there's, as you can see, there's a lot of different things that it can do. Some of you may want to use this in different ways. So I just wanted to give you all a sample of the fact that it can do quizzes, and you can see the % of people getting it correct. So it's kind of fun. You can kind of use this in different ways too, depending if you want to do a poll. This is, or a quiz or a question kind of thing. So this could be a quick way to do, if you want to do a quick quiz at the beginning of class for students to see, hey, did you, not necessarily for a real grade, but if they like learn something, from the night before or from the course or whatever, that you wanted to see, hey, did they learn the material? This might be a great way to do that. This has to see, did they learn something? So so that's kind of my the demo of it. So I just wanted to kind of first demonstrate that. Before I move forward and show you on the back end how all this works, are there any just initial questions or just your reactions or thoughts? Is this helpful? Is this kind of something that you think would be useful to you? Just kind of curious for a minute, just to check in with everybody. Any initial thoughts?
I think, Frank, this is probably going to be pretty helpful for me in teaching in the online accelerated program. I've been trying to find a way to help those students feel more engaged and connected to campus without them really being here. And it seems like this tool has integrated a lot of these separate tools we might have access to through Canvas or elsewhere, but it's all in one place. So right. I think that's what I anticipate liking the most about it.
Yeah, I think you're right on. And, I've been, so what's interesting is in the time that I started using Nearpod to today, some of the features like the Collaborate board, the embedding of the YouTube, and it actually works directly with Zoom now too. You can almost create a Zoom Nearpod straight from Nearpod itself. And so the fact that they've continued to add features to it, they do a really good job with like training things and videos on their website if you need that, but it's very user friendly and as well. And so I also, like you, like the fact that it can do so many different things, and they've really enhanced this over the last several years. So I think it's even more useful today than it was before.
I like this tool a lot too. I'll actually flip on my camera. I actually really like this tool too. It has, like you said, evolved so much over the last couple of years. In fact, I think even over the last 6 months in the middle of all of this, I was really surprised. One of the things I really like about it is that, I think you're probably going to mention this, but it integrates into Google Slides as just an add-on. And so I almost feel like if we were having students give presentations, they could pretty easily integrate a few of these into something they were doing for their fellow classmates if they were doing it in kind of a virtual environment like this, and include them at the same time. So I think it's so easy that it would be easy for students to use as well. Yeah,
no, I think that's an excellent point. There's always a twist. I do want to kind of get to one twist part, and then I'll show you on the back end how this works. But one twist part to just be really transparent about, the website itself, nearpod.com, it is free to use that site normally. However, the way they structure their site in terms of cost and whatnot is it's based on the size of the file that you're creating for the project you're doing. So for example, if you think of uploading a PowerPoint and enhancing it, there's a size limit to that. So like if you're creating, so you can go to Nearpod now and create a simple thing with maybe 1 or 2 features, but depending on what features you're using and depending on the size of the file, there's a point where it does ask for, there's a cost associated with it. Now, what I will tell you is it's very reasonable. Our office in Norse Advising, we use this for a master advisor program, for some of the different workshops we do during the year for orientation. And so we spend about approximately $100 a year. So if you think monthly, month-to-month cost, it's not that much. So $100 a year is basically what it costs us. And that usually handles most classroom size presentations, or most presentations fine. And there's no limit to how many presentations you can use it for. So once you get to that level where you're purchasing something like that, that's fine. I also will come back to that because NKU has been exploring some options with Nearpod too, and I have some exciting stuff to share about that at the end of the presentation today. But I wanted to at least be transparent about that there can be a cost associated with this, depending on, how the university proceeds or how much interest there is in this, things like that. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. What I want to do quickly is kind of shift gears a little bit. Now that you can see some of what this does, I want to show on the back end how this works. The last thing I'll just share before I do that is I wanted to show you an example. I may have to change my screen here for a minute, sorry. I wanted to show you an example of what the reports look like when you get the report from Nearpod. So hang tight with me for just a second. It looks like this when you get done. And so this is from one of our new student orientation sessions this summer, the one that we did on June 2nd. So you can see from the report here how many people participated in the session, what the percentage of participation was, based on quizzes or whatever we put built in, what the results were. So you can see the names of the people in here. If you were to describe, one question that we asked for this was, if you could describe how you're feeling about coming to NKU, what would it be? So their responses in that session were all over, as you can imagine. So students were excited, they were nervous, they were happy, they were motivated. So they all had fun adjectives to kind of share about that. You can see they did that Victor drawing thing. So you can see some of their drawings there. And so it keeps track of this, and all of this report is generated automatically after every session. So if you teach multiple classes and you wanted to print these reports out for each class, you could do that. It gives you the details of the responses, and so you can actually go back in and look at all your results, and it does this automatically. You can get it as a PDF, you can get it as an Excel document, so it can collect data for you, which is awesome. So for us, it was really great to see this. When I use this in the College of Business to collect the data, I mentioned earlier that we use this for tracking things like how many hours students were working and things like that. One of the things I found was that our incoming freshmen, we did this over about a 3-year period, our incoming freshmen were working slightly more hours each year. So what I was discovering was our freshman class, each year went by, they were working, it wasn't tremendous. Most of our freshmen were averaging about 12 hours a week, which is good. It's something, you expect them to be part-time, but it went from like 11 to 11.8, then it went to like 12.3, and it kept growing. So what that told me was our students are working more and more hours, and that may be something we need to think about, in terms of how we approach our advising conversations or things like that. So, so there's a lot you can do with that. All right, so I want to show you how this works on the back end with some time that we have, and then I'll certainly take some more questions and things that you might have. So I'm actually going to leave this session. So if you were on your phone, I'm going to jump off of that. So we're going to kind of shift to the Zoom call itself here for a minute. But when you first log into Nearpod, it looks a little like this when you first set up an account. Up here, you'll see on the side where it says My Library, and then you can print out reports from here. And then as you create new presentations, you'll see those presentations show up in Nearpod. And then up in the upper corner up here, it says New. This is where you would create a new session or a new presentation or a new activity or whatever new thing you were creating. And I'll come back to that just to demonstrate that. But down here where you have already pre-designed lessons, this is where you would launch the lessons from. So even for today, the session that I just did with all of you is right here. I can create this as a Zoom, as I mentioned. So now this is actually a brand new feature. You can create it as a live session via Zoom. You can just create it as a live participation, which is what I did today because you all had the code and connected in with the code. And then there's even a student paced option. So students can go at some of these at their own pace. So if you wanted to create a Nearpod that was shared with students that they kind of go at their own pace, that's possible to do as well. if you create a new feature up here, this is really kind of neat. When I click new, and I hope this works, it'll ask you if you want to Google Slides. I think one of the faculty mentioned that Google Slides works with this. You can create it. I typically do like a new lesson in Nearpod. And so is my screen still sharing, just by the way? Can everyone still see this where it says
Yep.
lesson? Okay, good.
Yep, you're good.
So notice right away, you can add a slide. If you click that, it'll ask you if you want to add a slide or an activity or whatever you wanted to add to it. This is where you would choose the different things like the Draw It feature, Collaborate board, things like that. But one of the coolest things I think about this is you can actually upload files. Like I mentioned, you can upload a PowerPoint or a PDF or a presentation in here really easily. If any of you in your work have a dual monitor, you can literally drag a PowerPoint into Nearpod straight from your desktop straight into this site, and it'll upload it that way. You could also click on upload files, and you can upload a file directly from downloading from Google Slides, from your own files. If you choose the download feature, you can do it from your own files. So there's a lot of ways you can upload content into this. If I click on the add slide here for a minute, you only saw a snippet of some of the things that it can do. There's virtual field trips that they have embedded in here. So this is where you can have people visit different places around the world that they've already preloaded. Like maybe they have images of the Great Wall of China or different things like that. They partnered with, the company partnered with BBC Worldwide. So BBC videos are embedded in here automatically. And again, they're always looking for new things to add to this. Web content, you could do slideshows, you can do PDFs, you can add videos. So, and then over here, you can choose between content and activities. So they have things like, it says time to climb, where people can kind of answer questions. Think if anybody did a Kahoot, where you answer questions and it kind of keeps your score as you go, and people can get the highest score on a range of quiz questions. It can do that. It can do open-ended questions like the one you did earlier. You can do matching pairs if you want to match pairs of things up together. You can do quiz, fill in the blanks, polls, memory tests, the collaborate board. So there's several different features that you can embed into this to make the session or presentation that you're doing more interactive. What's really great is there's a lot of possibilities with that. I would think that for an instructor, this might not be something an instructor might use for every single class session either. You may want to still do traditional PowerPoints or things for your classes. Maybe this is something that you do for a special class, or maybe that you want to do for certain topics in your class. Some professors may want to do this every class to make it interactive. It just varies. So as you think about creating your own lessons or how you want to use this, there's a lot of possibilities with that depending on what you'd like to do. So on a very basic level, that is, how it works. But there's also teacher resources in here, and you can view, they have a help area and things where you can view videos on what some of the different features will do. And as they add new things, they will certainly email you about it, as well as put updates into Nearpod itself to show you updated things on how it can be used. But it's a really, really great tool, and I think it could be really, really useful in and out of the classroom for a lot of different ways. I think students really get a kick out of it being so interactive, when they can report back out on things themselves, or they can see their image, see their responses or images on not only on their phone, but also on the screen sometimes. I think they get a really big jolt out of that. And so I think the students like it, and it can be very fun that way. And I really like that it works on so many devices. So again, if you think about a person who can connect with this from home, or from, they could be in a restaurant on their phone and connect with this. There's a lot of possibilities of how you can engage people wherever they're at. And that's one of the things that I think is really neat about Nearpod. I know that was a lot of stuff. So I wanted to kind of just take a quick step back and see what questions that you all might have. There may have been questions that popped up in the chat as well, just to kind of see what people think or get your feedback on this, or questions that you might have. And I'll be honest, I may not be able to answer every question. I've used this a lot and I feel knowledgeable in it, but I would not necessarily call myself an expert in it. It's just something that I just felt like it was a really good tool for faculty. I have some exciting news to share about Nearpod as well. So I guess I'll do that and then I'll take questions. The university right now, Ellen and I really want to thank Ellen and Denise for their work, not only to create this presentation, but in dialogues I've had around this helpful tool. They've worked with IT a little bit, and I believe we have, and Ellen and Denise, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe we have 10 free trial licenses that that NKU has right now at this time that we can use for some people to test this out and see if they want to use it, if it's something that you think that you'd be interested in. If there's maybe enough engagement, there may be some room to kind of dialogue about, is there a way to get a license for the entire university or things like that, if it's something that we feel may get to that point. But for now, at least we have a starting point to kind of test this out. So Denise or Ellen, if you want.
So as Ellen was saying,
Yeah.
we have 10 licenses. And what we're going to do is have people apply. And what we'll do is put out a Qualtrics survey or something where you can just fill out and answer a few questions about the classes that you're teaching and the number of students, et cetera, et cetera. And then what we'll do is we'll go through those and we'll try to match up folks that seems like the Nearpod would have the biggest impact. That's about the best we could do this semester. But then at the end of the semester, we are going to ask you for some feedback. So we would ask that you would be willing to participate in a survey so that we can find out if it was useful, et cetera, so that we can go back to IT and say, hey, these folks had really great success or they didn't. And we can decide how to move forward with a Nearpod license.
Thank you, Denise. That's really helpful. And what I'll just quickly say on a couple of things that I've noticed in using this in a lot of different presentations, this software is very reliable. So one question that may be on some people's minds is how reliable is this, or does it cut out? Does it work? I will tell you that it's been very, very reliable. So if people, download this on their phone, it usually only takes a few seconds to do that. And then connecting in the sessions, most people have no trouble doing that. The only maybe technical thing that I've noticed is that maybe there's, depending on internet traffic, there may be a little bit of a lag of when they submit to when you see it on the screen, just depending on how busy traffic is on the internet. But other than that, I feel like it's been very, very smooth. And I've used this with probably nearly 20 presentations at this point, and every time it's been very much on point. So that was really encouraging to me, and one of the reasons why I've continued to really like this tool. I like the fact that it's very versatile and works on a lot of devices. It works on iPads, it works on phones, pretty much any device they can download apps. It's very flexible with. So for that reason, it's also, I like the flexibility in it for students. So those may be two questions that are a question that's on your mind about the reliability of the software. Are there other questions? I think I saw one, Tracy, you wrote, can this work asynchronously?
And Shannon helped with that too. If anybody else wants to know, we were kind of going back and forth, but yeah, it sounds awesome for the accelerated classes, because Rachel's the one that made me think about it, because those accelerated classes are usually student paced, and it's just PowerPoint. I try to do short videos, but man, if it could do their own interaction, that would be really cool.
Yeah, and I think you saw on the screen that I shared where you could choose student paced. I'll be really honest with you, I have not done a student paced presentation to date. All the ones I've done have been live presentations, but I'm pretty certain that if you do a student paced one, you could create the Nearpod and students could do it at their own pace. So I do think that should be possible. Are there other questions about how to use it, about it at all, that I can answer? Hopefully this was helpful for people today. My goal today was really just to educate on what it can do and how it works a little bit, and then just make sure that you all have a sense of how this tool could be helpful for the classroom experience, or just in general. It could be used for presentations. As I mentioned, we use this in, for master advisor presentations and other things like that as well, to enhance them. And so it can make things more fun than just a regular Zoom call. And so I think right now, those are great things to have in your tool belt when we think about, this pandemic and doing things remotely. And, if there's things that we can do to close that distance or that gap, this is a tool that I think can help to do that. So unless there's other questions, I'll hang around, but unless there's other questions, that you have the gift of time back a little bit today. I just wanted to introduce this tool to you, and I appreciate everybody taking the time out of their day to join and learn a little bit about this Nearpod. So thank you all for coming today. I appreciate that.